Support for Iowa Catholic Radio and Making It Personal is provided by Sarah Vocations Ministry. Learn more at joinserra.org.
Making It Personal with Bishop William Joensen on Iowa Catholic Radio and iowacatholicradio.com.
Welcome to Making It Personal with Bishop Joensen. I'm Jean Till, and on today's show, we're visiting with Father Mike Mahoney, one of the newest priests for the Diocese of Des Moines.
The oil's still wet on his, moist on his palms.
That's right, and has been assigned to St. Teresa's Catholic Church, I have to say. Yeah. I had to throw that in
as
there.
You're beaming there.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
We're pretty excited.
The home team there.
Yeah.
Well, we tried to show you love there and giving you
did it just for me?
A fine young priest.
Aw, thanks,
Father
Bishop.
Raphael Asama, what a great combination that's going to be, and he'll be a great mentor for him. We're already approaching the middle of July, and 4th of July, the great excitement and everything else, but it also marks kind of the middle of summer, and for some, starting to turn to thoughts of August. Let's not go there, all right? We've got many other great things happening. July 14th, Sunday, tomorrow, for those who are listening on Iowa Catholic Radio and the Spirit Catholic Radio Network, we're going to be privileged to have the rite of candidacy, kind of the formal recognition that one is on that path to priesthood, which Father Michael completed that path, and now the adventure really begins. But Matthew Joel and Kyle Rowan, our seminarians, will be heading off to St. Joseph's Seminary in Dunwoody, New York, joining Luke Mohan there.
I was going to say, Luke is there, right?
So Des Moines is establishing a beachhead there in New York, but great things that are happening as well. So, and just, you think about the studies that they'll be in. They actually are in with a number of religious communities who also pursue their theology studies there, including the Franciscan Friars of the Renewal, who are kind of famous for their great habits, their work with the poor. I was fortunate during the National Eucharistic procession that we had a few weeks ago. Father Innocent Montgomery.
What a delight.
What a powerful, passionate, spirit-led ambassador of the gospel in so many ways. Of course, I had to kind of do a little double take because he is one of a set of triplets, and his brother, Father Angelus Montgomery, I had in class many years ago.
Did you call him by the wrong name?
Almost. I had to check myself on that. So that rite of candidacy at the Basilica of St. John, those who'd like to join us at the 10:30 a.m. Mass are certainly welcome to kind of support them and send them off. You and I both will be going to the National Eucharistic Congress
in a few days.
Again. Yeah, off to the road to Indy. Here we go, and those Eucharistic processions converging from 4 different directions, and I think the Sarah, we take a little pride. That was the longest route we had. But I don't even know. I mean, I know what the schedule is, but what God will do there, and I think the Holy Spirit will descend on Lucas Oil Stadium in a powerful way. July 14th, tomorrow, Sunday, we don't observe Bastille Day in our country, the French that are there. We think of that kind of mixed legacy of the French Revolution. But here, even in Iowa, we see some of that heritage with our Iowa flag, the 3 colors, red, white, and blue, a little bit reminiscent of the French flag there. The Louisiana Purchase, which marked out in the claiming of the territory, where the states, including Iowa, ultimately took shape. That legacy there, I think, is also one of the main tributaries for our sense of human rights. We're about, 76 years beyond the foundation of the UN Declaration of Human Rights in 1948. But that sense there, even for those who were part of that French Revolution, who eschewed faith in God and had no use for the church as the blood ran from the Bastille that day, but that motto of liberté, égalité, fraternité would never materialize there, and so that sense of human rights. The famous French geneticist Jerome Lejeune was fond of the story of the old French rural parish priest who kind of took an adaptation of that. He had the words vérité, humilité, paternité inscribed over the door of his rectory, and when someone asked why, the priest would reply, well, it's all very simple, because the truth, vérité, will set you free, liberté. Humility will make you equal, égalité, and paternity will teach you that you are all brothers, fraternité, since you all have the same Father. And so we can't shake our religious roots, the founding and the sense of human dignity, the protection of all human life. The decisions that our courts render sometimes uphold that, and so we stay faithful and adhering to that, and our legacy that ultimately our liberties we prize and our rights we will maintain.
We're going to take a quick break, and when we return, we'll be visiting with Father Mike Mahoney, one of the newest priests for the Diocese of Des Moines here, and we'll be at St. Teresa's Catholic Church, stationed there here.
You can't say that enough, can you?
I know. St. Teresa's, yeah. You're listening to Making It Personal with Bishop Joensen on Iowa Catholic Radio Network and the Spirit Catholic Radio Network.
Support for Iowa Catholic Radio provided by Farm Bureau Agent Cindy Schulte, an authorized independent agent for Walmart Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Iowa, an independent licensee of the Blue Cross Blue Shield Association. Learn more at 515-226-2111 or cindyschulte.com.
Support for Iowa Catholic Radio comes from independent realtor Chris Foster. Chris has served clients with everything real estate throughout Iowa since 2019. 641-891-8178 or online at the number 4 saleia.com.
Does your financial portfolio benefit from abortion, contraception, human cloning, or embryonic stem cell research? Knights of Columbus Asset Advisors offers investment products that are Catholic screened and designed for faith-based investors. Contact an advisor at 844-493-4010 or visit kfcassetadvisors.org to learn more about how you can seek to align your faith and finances. Knights of Columbus Asset Advisors is an SCC registered investment advisor. Investment products are not guaranteed and may lose value. Thank you, Advisor Gregory Waddle, for your support of Iowa Catholic Radio.
Welcome back to Making It Personal with Bishop Joensen. And on today's show, we're visiting with Father Mike Mahoney, one of the newest priests for the Diocese of Des Moines.
Father Michael Mahoney has a beautiful ring to it and just a great grace for the diocese. He and Father Luisito Cabrera ordained on Friday night, the 21st of June, at St. Ambrose Cathedral. And it was a glorious event, quite a turnout for priests from our diocese. Those who were counting the number of people imposing hands got up to 77. So, Father Michael, welcome to the show today. Thank you for taking time. As you kind of this little interim period to gather yourself between ordination and showing up on. I guess you did show up on Thursday. So, as we are anticipating the day, so you're getting settled in and all. But any thoughts or lasting memories or impressions of the ordination Mass itself?
And well, first of all, thank you for having me this morning. One of the greatest memories I have from ordination would be the imposing of the hands. I think really stuck out to me between your hands imposing on me, Bishop, but also all the priests that were there. I took kind of a few moments just to kind of look up to see who was coming up beforehand and just all the smiles that I would receive.
Yeah, that's not breaking any rubric or anything to look at people.
Right. Yeah, but just seeing all the smiles and the affirmation that I was receiving from now my brother priests. It was just a true blessing in that moment.
Yeah, being sense of being welcomed into a fraternity and all of us humbled because we know we're not worthy of our own merits. Even though we asked Father Ross Parker, do you judge them to be worthy? And he says, yes, but that's on the human making, but for the inbreaking of God's incredible grace and all that's there. Your parents, Tom and Celia, were there in the front row. Your sisters, Anne Marie and Alyssa, also part of that with their families too. But what have they shared that they experienced that day?
Yeah, I think they were very moved just by the whole entire ceremony or the whole entire ordination, to be honest. I think they were really struck by it. My parents had been to ordinations before, especially as I became a seminarian. They made sure they were there to show support for the coming priest, but also for me. But for my sisters and their families, that was the first ordination they had been to, and including my extended family, who many are not Catholic. And so for them to really see the ordination, the meaning of it behind the Catholic faith, was truly moving for all of them. Just being like, wow, like what is going on? Like, why is he doing that? And all that kind of stuff. And yeah, I think.
And the program explains a little bit, but there's just, it's kind of like the rites of Christian initiation. You have to just be led into this mystery and kind of give yourself over to it, and then unpack it later. Experience it first. And not over-explain it.
Right. Yeah, because all my cousins were asking me many questions afterwards. They're like, what does this mean? And stuff like that.
Why did you lie down?
Right. Yeah. Like even my nieces and nephew were like, why was he lying down? I was like, I was submitting my life to God. It's like, that was the whole entire reason behind that. And they're like, oh, okay.
Yeah. And invoking the communion of saints there, that cloud of witnesses that surround you. And I think, as for maybe couples going to a nuptial mass, seeing a wedding, I think for priests too, reminiscent of their own moment when they prostrated themselves and all that's there. You went to the Pontifical North American College, studies mainly at the Angelicum, the Dominican university that's there. As part of your preparation, did you ever kind of go through as a class and look at that ordination ritual and pray over it, maybe even make a little mini retreat over it in any way?
Yeah, not at the Angelicum, but at the NAC we did, especially leading up towards my diaconate ordination in the fall of 2023. But when I went on my canonical retreat leading up to priesthood, I made sure there's like 5 of us who were praying for priest ordination. I made sure that we brought those and were able to kind of read through them and pray with them, and just kind of familiarize ourselves even more with the rite itself. Because that allows us to enter into the ordination itself kind of with more gratitude, I think, to be able to understand, like, what are the words we are saying, what's the meaning behind them, and all of that.
It's kind of like we would encourage all people, members of the body of Christ, to prepare for any weekend Mass or even daily Mass by reading the readings in advance, and then that can be proclaimed and heard, and it becomes a moment of the Spirit kind of then speaking to us in that beautiful way. I do remember, Father Michael, that as not yet even ordained bishop, I was over at Baby Bishop School in Rome in September 2019, and the hospitality of the NAC, and so we were there. I think I'd already met some of the Des Moines seminarians at the all Iowa gathering in Ames. But really, kind of in that experience in the NAC, you were the first person I met there, as you were just, arrived yourself, right? Beginning your preparation. Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah. Fresh from Assisi, I think, and maybe retreat as well. And we were there for evening prayer together. And I remember one of my friends was like, "Hey, your seminarian's right there." And so we kind of switched spots. And so
you let me share your breviary.
That's
I
right.
think I didn't have my phone app yet with the Liturgy of the Hours on it as well. Well, obviously the path began much before that. You are a native of West Des Moines. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Your dad has some Philadelphia roots there, but also West Des Moines as well. Both your parents went to Valley High School. To share a little bit about your upbringing and maybe things that left their imprint on you that you didn't know at the time. Maybe
we did see his, I think, First Communion picture has been posted on Facebook.
Is that right?
From St. Francis, and it's like, well, that's Father Mike.
That's right. St. Francis took all of my sacramental pictures leading up to priesthood ordination to kind of show the sacramental journey that I was.
Wonderful! Wow, that's great, and all that stuff is available then.
That's right.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, so to kind of share a little bit of my journey, though, obviously born and raised Catholic. My mom's a convert, and so, but my dad was born and raised Catholic. So before they even got married, my mom entered into the church, and from the get-go, they always knew that they were going to raise their kids Catholic. That's what they had wanted to do all along. And so having strong...
And they met at the University of Iowa, is that correct? Or they were at the Valley High School.
That's right. Yeah, they're high school sweethearts from the Valley. And so,
beautiful.
Yeah. That's the kind of crazy thinking about that. I mean, they've been married for 40 years now, and so it's kind of crazy.
40 years.
40 years.
Yeah. So.
And so I went to Sacred Heart School from kindergarten through 5th grade, and then decided to switch to St. Francis from 6th grade onwards. And so really immersed into my Catholic faith, mostly in my time in middle school, is where we kind of really started to become my own. Through different mission trips.
Which is not automatically the case, right?
Right.
So young people, begin to think, is church for me or not? Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And I kind of start to have those deeper questions. But for me, I always kind of had that great ascension to the teachings of the faith and wanted to learn more about it. And so seeing that in myself and that longing to grow closer to God, I really tried to dive into it during those years. And then I went to Dowling Catholic High School for my high school years. Had a great experience there as well. And there I also started to become more involved with the youth group at St. Francis. Would be there almost weekly. Of course, every once in a while I would have to miss it. And also I started doing mission trips during my high school years. And that's really where I started to even see my desire to be a missionary, really, which kind of led me towards this path.
Were these domestic or international mission trips? Or?
They were domestic.
Okay.
Yeah. My first one was actually in Parkersburg, Iowa, after the tornado. I think it was 2008. I think would have been the big tornado that went through that town.
And just a little footnote, when I was in Greenfield, shortly after the Greenfield tornado, which now we're seeing over 300-mile-per-hour winds were part of that, and I believe it, there were people from Parkersburg there.
Oh, wow.
Who were kind of in their way, kind of, paying back, giving back for the support and outreach others had received. So kind of fascinating.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
And then I went to Pine Ridge, South Dakota on the reservation there. I went to Detroit, and then I'm missing one on top of my head right now.
But how vital that we provide these young experiences for young people where they're outside their comfort zone a little bit, encountering Christ in the people they're meeting and serving in that way, right? And it's, we talk about our mission, sowing God's Spirit and cultivating connections in Christ through encounter. And you were having that. So, but I interrupt you, Father Mike.
That's okay. But I think just like those experiences and experiencing extreme poverty, really, and something that me growing up, I didn't really have to experience. And so seeing that kind of level and being the hands and feet of God in those places was truly moving for me, and realizing that, I can do this in a different way, but still be the hands and feet of God and as a priest.
But did it automatically shake down in terms of priesthood, or were you still open in other ways to various paths? Yeah,
I was still open to various paths for sure, because I probably heard my call in my sophomore year of high school at the National Catholic Youth Conference. In adoration there, I was praying, and the Lord said, "Mike, I want you to be a priest." And as a high schooler, I was like, "Me?
Are you talking to me?"
Right. Yeah. I'm like, I don't know. And my parents would ask me on and off when I was growing up, like if I was thinking about it. And again, as a young person, I was always kind of shake it off. So I went through my high school
But
years.
You knew they would support you if you pursued
that's
that.
powerful.
Yeah, 100%.
And that's not automatic either, is it?
No. Yeah, and I'm so grateful that I have my support of my parents, and they're very loving and caring for me.
Who? Me? So, all right.
Yeah.
So, again, all right. You didn't immediately fill out an application for seminary as a junior or senior. Yeah.
And then I went to St. John's University after I went to Dowling, and I graduated from St. John's in 2012.
Collegeville, Minnesota. Not Annapolis, but Collegeville.
Nope. And got my degree in secondary education. And from there, I went to Santa Clara, California, and started working on a master's degree and teaching middle schoolers. I was teaching in a small Catholic school nearby to St. Clair University, and taught social studies for 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, and 7th grade religion. And
is this part of a special program that the Jesuits sponsor, that they'll pay for, give a scholarship or a graduate stipend?
It's part of a big umbrella program, but the program for Santa Clara University is called Excel.
Okay.
It stands for Excellence in Catholic Education and Leadership. But it's part of a bigger umbrella that was started by Notre Dame and their program ACE.
Yep. With which I'm familiar. So how is that teaching middle schoolers?
Is that like herding cats?
It can be at times, for sure.
And mobile phones were on the scene then, or not?
They were, yeah. So we had to collect them every day as they came into the classroom, which of course they didn't like. But it was a challenge. It was a deep challenge for me my classroom management wasn't the best, and so that was a struggle. But I also just found I wasn't being true to who I am in many ways, especially when I was hanging out with my friends. And so that caused a really deep sorrow in me. And I was like, okay, why am I not happy? What am I missing? Like, why am I trying to change me? And what's going on?
I've checked off all the boxes. I should be happy.
Right. I was like, I thought my whole life was going to be, getting married, having kids, and all of that. And I thought teaching was my life. And as I was teaching, I was like, this isn't for me. Like, what's going on? What am I going to do? Like, I spent 4 years, now 5 years of my life going down this path of starting a teaching career. And I started to pray more and more again. And I realized...
May I just inject that you were, at the time you were living with some of your fellow teachers, is that right?
That's right.
Yeah, and, and they were not all, in love with the Lord or, pursuing lives of integrity and virtue at the time.
Right. Yeah, and so that caused kind of like that's probably the discord I experienced too, for sure.
But I'm that this dis-ease that you experienced, that you were able to name that and identify that. I think sometimes as I worked with young people, college students, that they just want to kind of suppress that or think something's wrong. But God is using that, right, to help to reveal what His desires for us, and meeting your own desires.
Right, and I thank God that I was able to see that, right, because He definitely gifted me with that to be able to open my eyes and be like, okay, my happiness is there's something missing. That's part of it. And so when I started to pray about, okay, well, Lord, where are you leading me? Those thoughts of the priesthood started to come back. And I was like, okay. And so I started thinking more and more about it. And I was like, where am I the happiest? And I realized I was teaching my 7th grade religion class. And I was like, all right, there's something to that. And so...
Did you have a spiritual director at that time, or you had to kind of be without? Yeah, that's a fasting, isn't it?
Yeah. And so it just kind of took it was all kind of led by the Holy Spirit. I probably should have had somebody kind of direct me. But yeah, it was a grace, I think, that I was gifted for.
Mm-hmm. And then, so you came back to the Diocese of Des Moines and started talking, the vocation director at that time? Yeah. Yeah,
so I contacted Father Joe Pins, and then kind of got the ball rolling, and then came back that following summer and finished the application process into the seminary, and started at St. Paul Seminary the following fall.
Okay, so was that the undergraduate seminary, the program at St. John Vianney, or ready for...
It was a pre-theology program at St. Paul Seminary.
Excellent. Yeah. Well, if you're willing to stay with us, Jean...
We're going to take that quick break, and when we come back, we'll continue our conversation with Father Mike Mahoney, who was just ordained to the priesthood for the Diocese of Des Moines in mid-June. You're listening to Making It Personal with Bishop Joensen on the Iowa Catholic Radio Network and the Spirit Catholic Radio Network.
Support for Iowa Catholic Radio provided by the Sarah Vocations Ministry, including the St. Sarah Club of Des Moines and the Sarah Club of Council Bluffs. Sarah is an apostolate of the Worldwide Catholic Church dedicated to fostering and supporting priesthood and religious vocations. Sarahs strive to accomplish their mission through prayer, fellowship, and service to the bishop, priests, sisters, and all in religious formation, and in doing so to increase their own holiness. Learn more at joinsarah.org, joinserra.org. Thank you, Sarahs, for your support of Iowa Catholic Radio.
At Intervisions Healthcare, we see patients with unplanned pregnancies from ages 12 to 43. An unplanned pregnancy is traumatic at any age. For that reason, we specialize in educating, encouraging, and empowering vulnerable and at-risk mothers facing an unexpected pregnancy with the medical information and services necessary for them to make an informed decision. For more information on the free medical services at Intervisions Healthcare, or to support our mission or become a volunteer, visit ivhcare.org.
Making It Personal with Bishop Joensen.
So you'd gone to St. John's. You kind of had an exposure to the Catholic intellectual tradition, maybe a philosophy class or two there, but pre-theology for 2 years, St. Paul Seminary, University of St. Thomas as well. And then all is flowing, and then the thoughts of the major seminary. How was that discernment that you ended up heading across the pond?
Yeah, so I was thinking more about where the Lord was calling me and where I needed to grow. And so I reached out to Father Ross Parker and said, hey, what do you think about sending me to the NAC? And we kind of talked about
North American
it.
College.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And so we kind of talked about it, and he said, why don't you go and do a visit and come back and we'll talk a little bit more about it. And so that fall I went and did a visit and really enjoyed what I saw and experienced, and felt that was a place where I was meant to go. And so Bishop Pates agreed and sent me there because it's right before you became our bishop.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I started there in the fall of 2019, and it was a really great experience for my 4 years there.
Okay, yeah. And, as that discernment to send men, it would be something that factors in for me. Can this man have a certain resiliency to go with the flow? I mean, it's marvelous to have the Italian culture and everything else, but that is not something that runs with the American Germanic efficiency at times, and you have to be patient also. And I think, mastering or at least gaining a certain facility with the Italian language too. So these are all part of it, although your studies mainly in English also. So you had your class, you continued to make your way, and then coming about the third year, there was some consideration of maybe possible, enhancement of your formation with a pastoral experience.
Right, and so after my third year of theology at the North American College, I went on what's called a pastoral year, And so I spent a year in a parish, and that parish was St. John the Apostle in Norwalk with Father Dan Kirby. And that was a huge blessing to be able to work with him and the staff that he has there. And the people of that parish are just incredible, too. They really treated me well and helped form me into hopefully a good priest.
And your own natural joy and Father Dan's joy, his love and his love for his priesthood, and sharing that with you and his rule of life. I mean, you guys would pray together, wouldn't you?
We would. Yeah.
As you lived with him and things. Yeah. What were some of the, real quickly, as time continues to pass here, what were one or two of the pastoral experiences that you thought left an indelible mark on you?
Yeah. I would say the teaching experiences, being able to do the family faith formation nights, where for one really sticks out. Just being able to be in front of the people and find my natural kind of teaching ability in that capacity really stuck with me. And then,
so God lets nothing go to waste. I
right.
mean, that experience where you had that discomfort, but it also is something God's enlisted now.
Yeah, and I would say the other one would be working with the altar servers and those kids, and just kind of trying to cultivate their love of the Eucharist and the Mass and all that. Both of those things kind of really filled me up with lots of joy during that time. And
who knows, maybe sowing seeds of further vocations here. Your spiritual paternity being realized. It's beautiful that the vocation director, when you first came in, Father Joe Pence, ends up being your pastor at your preacher at your Mass of Thanksgiving. We have about just 45 seconds left, but this custom that particularly the Romans bring forward, connecting the ordination with their parents.
Yeah, so as at the end of the Mass, or my first Mass, I give to my parents what's called the mangitorium, which is a white cloth. It's gifted to my mom, which was the cloth I used to wipe off the chrism at my ordination. And then I give my dad the stole I wore for hearing my first confessions.
And what's the symbolism there? What's, as we have 15 seconds or so.
Yeah. And so the symbolism is that as they are buried, after they pass away, they take those items with them to God and say, my son shared in your priesthood. So it's just a beautiful kind of tradition that we pass on.
Wow. I mean, the cloth of purity and the stole for mercy, it brings me to tears every single time. And when you start talking about it, I'm like, I'm going to cry again.
Well, we'll let you have your cry time here, but unfortunately, but so grateful to have you. Thank you, Father Michael Mahoney, and Godspeed and blessing. And of course, we'll be seeing you frequently at St. Theresa's.
Thank you very much.
This has been another edition of Making It Personal with Bishop Joensen. Thank you to our guest and all of our listeners in Iowa, Nebraska, Wisconsin, or wherever you may be listening on Iowa Catholic Radio Network and the Spirit Catholic Radio Network.
You can hear Making It Personal with Bishop William Joensen every week on Iowa Catholic Radio and iowacatholicradio.com.
Support for Iowa Catholic Radio and Making It Personal is provided by Sarah Vocations Ministry. Learn more at joinserra.org.